I finished 3 different series for people who died. And yes, that's good, but still, don't die.
Welcome to the Two Authors Podcast, an entertaining chat show hosted by best-selling mystery and thriller authors Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey, in lively, humorous and informative conversation with distinguished guests who share their thoughts and experience about forging a successful author career.
Welcome to this week's show, everyone, brought to you as always by the fabulous Vellum, the world's best formatting solution in the whole galaxy.
Did you say Vellum, Doug?
I did say Vellum, Nick. How do you like those boys over there?
We love the Brads.
We do. They're awesome. How are you doing, Mr. Nick?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there upside down.
I know you're all the upside down part. Talk about Vellum. I was going to tell you what fun thing that I was looking at we can do, because we always like to chat about a little bit what they can do. And I just used one of these features that I found to be so easy, so brilliantly easy, was I put together a 10-book box set for the Chase Gordon series.
10 books, Doug. 10 books.
Yeah, it was crazy wild on my part. It's a limited time, so if you're wanting to grab this box set, you better jump over there now, because by the end of the year, I'm probably going to pull it down. But it was so crazy easy to put this thing together. Like, it was simply, you go into Vellum, you click box set, and then you just pick the books that you've already, built out elsewhere. It populates it itself. You don't have to worry about anything. It was so easy. I felt like I was expecting to have a lot of trouble because I'm dumb.
It's so easy. A Two Authors podcast host can do it.
And also, real big thanks to all of our new Patreon supporters out there, and our old Patreon supporters too. We still love you. And if you guys feel like you're getting some value from us and from our show, then we really appreciate if you could support us over at patreon.com/the Two Authors Podcast. And we have a lot of really cool extras over there. Just in the free tier, you can get like the podcast and a few other things. But for just a couple dollars more, we get bonus questions from most of our guests. We got little nuggets of me and you just chatting about things that we think we know about.
It's getting loaded up over there. There's literally like a couple hours worth of bonus content in there now. It's pretty cool.
You could be hanging out there. And you know what? We just added a new feature where you get to sponsor the question of the day. Was our listener question. So if you guys want to come on and jump into the show with Nick and I, ask us directly. We don't have a chance to think about it. You can surprise us with the question, and you're just like, whoa, it's out there. And we have to come off the cuff. It's a lot of fun, but you can get in there and do that. And at the same time, you'll be on here with us. We'd love you to pimp your service, pimp your book.
Yeah, if you're an author, talk about your new book, right? Yeah. If you got a service where you get to mention it. So that's always cool. I'm not sure how our answers will be. I mean, we're pretty dodgy when we have time to think about them. So it's a disaster when they come flying at us.
Quite all right. It's very fun. We should do it fast. And we have a great guest today, too, all the way, Craig Martelle, who is like one of the biggest shapers of the indie industry out there. If you have been in the indie publishing and you don't know who Craig Martelle is, I'm not sure you're actually publishing anything at this point. He's been out there for a while. So we're going to talk to him. But before we do, let's actually get to our question of the day. And so today, our question of the day is brought to us by our good friend, who was just on here a couple of weeks ago, Becca Symes. How you doing, Becca?
Hey, Becca.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on here.
What are you up to lately, apart from having food poisoning, which meant you couldn't come to Nick and see us?
Yes. Do not recommend 0 stars. It was the worst. Maybe missed Nink, which I was very sad about. But recovering is very slow. And so it has not been easy, but I'm definitely getting there. But other than that, I have a Kickstarter running.
Oh, we want to know all about that. We've been talking about Kickstarters lately, so.
Yeah, Kickstarter, it has been great. I'm doing a new version of Dear Writer, You Need to Quit. Basically, like, if we assume Dear Writer, You Need to Quit was the version for the 2017, like gold rush mentality kind of space. Yeah. What is the Dear Writer, You Need to Quit? What do we need to quit, keep, and question in 2025 when we're entering a more like legitimized independent publishing industry with a lot more rules and things like that. So it's called Dear Writer, You Still Need to Quit, which I was so creative with that title, let me tell you.
It works. It's on brand, Becca. It's on brand.
It's on brand.
Could have been like, Dear Writer, You Still Need to Quit The Comeback or something like
Yeah.
that. Something like The Revenge of Dear Writer You Need to Quit.
What is the Spinal Tap second movie
Oh,
called?
yeah. Haven't seen it yet, but
Isn't it This Is Still Spinal Tap?
This is still,
Did
yeah,
I not
this is
take it?
There we go. What's the
No.
dates on this Kickstarter?
So it ends on the 20th of November.
Oh, so you
Okay,
got time
cool.
right now. Yeah.
It should be currently running, and then it'll end on the 20th, and we'll do like a live event, a live event on my Quitcast and stuff. It'll be fun. I think we'll have a good time.
Very cool. So head over to kickstarter.com and then just search for Becca Simon. You will find it, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes, of course. So now, Becca, you have a question for us.
I do. So I, just on the note of like doing new things, I have been thinking about trying to write thrillers, which is obviously you guys have some expertise in that area. And I'm wondering
That's
if you
a dangerous
could give me
assumption you're making there, but okay, we'll go with it.
That's true, probably. Yeah. But also read them, right? You guys also read them.
We do read them. Yeah, we're guilty of that.
So I'm trying to think about, because I feel like I read thrillers not as a thriller fan, but as a fan of good writing. So I'm looking for some audience guidance about like, what are the things you would say thriller audiences are looking for? Like they absolutely need to have these things in their books. What would you say?
I would say first, are we clarifying what kind of thriller do you want to write? Psychological thriller, domestic thriller, action thriller?
Yeah, I would say probably psychological thriller, domestic thriller at some point, but I kind of feel like those are two separate audiences. So, but I was thinking psychological thriller first. Yeah.
I would say right now the big trend in that, and granted, neither of us write psychological thrillers per se. I mean, Nora's kind of verges on that.
She's a psycho, but it's not a psychological thriller. Yeah.
But I think one of the big tropes right now is like the unreliable narrators that, you don't always know who that is. Nick, what have you read lately?
I think opening with a inciting incident is general to thrillers. So opening with a bang, less so in some of like the psychological thrillers, but generally speaking, the authors that are skipping it are established. So, once you've got that one-click buyers, then you can get away with a little bit more. But generally, an inciting incident of some sort to kick it off is pretty true to most thrillers. That's key.
But like pretty high stakes, I assume, right?
High stakes, and there's beats to it. So you break into like the normal acts, 3-act thing. In a thriller, you tend to break it down even further. Like when Doug and I write together, we lay out these beats basically every third chapter. So basically, I guess it would be, every third chapter, there's got to be an action of some sort. Something has to happen. So you go action, recovery, build, something's threatening, then boom, action again, and keep that rhythm going.
In psych thrillers, which has less action maybe, but there's definitely going to be suspense on you're going to keep that tension built up pretty big in there. Also, I think a lot of them right now for psych thrillers, especially the first person point of view, also some of that dual narration.
Kirsten does that a lot too,
Kirsten
right?
does too. Kirsten Moglen does too, where you change, but they stay first person. Like it's first person with the wife, and then it switches over first person to the husband. And you just kind of clarify which one's which at the beginning of each chapter and go on through. So,
yeah, does that sum it all up for you?
Can we help you with something else that we don't write? We could also talk about erotica.
Yeah. Weirdly, I think erotica would be easier to figure out. And it's possibly with the thriller thing, it might be, and I think you guys just nailed my issue, is that I haven't really picked a comp. Like I haven't narrowed down enough, because similar to romance, obviously, like thriller is such a big umbrella. And I think I just hadn't narrowed down. And even when you asked me what kind of thrillers I was thinking about, I'm like, well, I mean, I like domestic.
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. And then, but I like I like to read psychological thrillers better. When you made the comment about opening with the inciting incident, I immediately thought, is this the best fit for me? Just because jumping into action like that so fast for a mystery writer is sort of like, what am I doing? So that'll be an interesting muscle.
Yeah. So for me, like I tried to write a psychological thriller with my new Cat Cromwell series, and I didn't write one. I wrote a police procedural thriller. And part of it is because I put humor in my writing in places, and that doesn't really jive with it. So I would say give it a go and see, if you've got a story idea, start laying it out, start doing a little bit of writing and see what the feel is, and maybe even send out, 10,000 words to a few people and go, hey, what do you get from this?
I would also say, like, you just because you start writing like a regular mystery doesn't mean you can't back up and put the inciting incident as a separate chapter. Like I was just reading one by Cheryl Bradshaw where she starts out with kidnapping, but I noticed she wrote the rest of it and came back and added that part later. So it's a different point of view, but then it picks up,
We have a friend Wayne does that all the time, right?
Yeah, Wayne does the same thing. So
he starts with chapter
the prologue. 2. Yeah, start with chapter 2 and then goes back and add that chapter 1. So if it throws off the way you're thinking, you can start that and get the story going. And maybe if you're a pantser, that would help you as well, because you could write it, then you figure out what you need that inciting incident to be, and you make that the very beginning. And a lot of, that's very popular. A lot of books where, hey, you start off the weird, wild, crazy thing, and then it's like, 24 hours earlier, that kind of thing.
Cool. Well, hopefully that's some help to you and maybe some other people listening.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
for coming on, Becca.
It's always fun to have you on, Becca, anyway. So this time you didn't get to ride me, so sorry.
I know. I did a little bit of encouraging Nick to turn you off, though.
I know. So. That's okay. I'm sorry. It's generally fair.
That as a positive.
I take no offense. So.
Yes.
Well, now, hey, on to this week's guest. This week we have Craig Martelle, who might be the most famous man in the indie author community. I'm not sure, but he is kind of a cross-genre author who, according to his Amazon page, has hundreds of books out there. Looking forward to talking to him. So let's welcome Craig. Welcome to the show, Craig. It's great to have you on with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, Doug and Nick both. And you guys coming from strange places, unlike Alaska, which is not strange at all.
We are connecting the world here for sure. They're different points of the world.
Well, hey, Craig, you've got I was looking through your catalog of books on Amazon, and I tried to count them, but there's a lot. I don't count that high. So I just want to kind of real quick, you've got this massive, you've got sci-fi, you've got post-apocalyptic, you've got thriller. Am I missing a genre in there? Romance?
A few. I do not have romance. I am not diving in there. I actually tried, and they're mean if you get it wrong. So I don't do romance, but I've got fantasy. I've got post-apoc, as you mentioned, and I do have some other. I have my nonfiction line, which is to help authors. So I do have a number of different genres, which I don't recommend to people. I recommend pick a genre you like and kind of stay there, because then your readers, you don't have to build different readerships based on your wild fantasies that you want to write.
We try to preach that a little bit too. But so tell us a little bit, how did you get started?
Well, let me tell you. I retired from the Marine Corps, and then I went and got my law degree, and then I worked as a lawyer for like 7 years, and I got tired of that because we went on site with the client. So I was always traveling, and it was just too much. So I came back home, and I'm like, hey, let me take care of my yard. Let me do the stuff that I've been putting off because of working and being gone so much. So I had this huge burn pile that I decided needed burning, and I lit myself on fire. And so stop, drop, and roll. I had second-degree burns on my leg. So while I'm sitting in my office doing stuff that was much, much healthier for me rather than trying to kill myself, I said, hey, let me write this book I always wanted to write while my leg heals, because I couldn't put on pants or anything because of the second-degree burns on my leg. I mean, I had big bandages on there. I wrote a book. That was my first book, 100,000 words, wrote it in 61 days. And I'm like, hey, I kind of like this. I have more stories that I want to tell. And so that was, today is, we're recording this on October 6th. That was October 4th of 2015. So I have now been writing full time a little more than 10 years.
What a story. When you started talking about going home and doing the yard work, I'm like, all right, where's he going with this one? I think that's definitely unique. I don't think you're going to run across it. There's not going to be a club of people who set themselves on fire and then started writing.
Because, I can't be trusted to do manly man stuff. So let me just write. Let me do this. And then I can pay people to do this other stuff.
So you talked about being a Marine and a lawyer. So how did some of those experiences, how do you take those experiences and shake that to approach your storytelling and the discipline it takes to write that?
Discipline. From the Marine Corps, I always to work early. I did a full day's work before other people even showed up, and I still maintain that work ethic. So I've always been a workaholic, and I don't recommend that for people because you turn gray, you go bald early in life, and you're constantly driven. I mean, it isn't recording video, but you see, I kind of rock back and forth because I was like easing into it and ready to go at all times. Now I got a bad heart and bad lungs, so I can't do anywhere near what I used to, but writing is one thing that I can. And my Marine Corps experiences, 20 years in the Marine Corps, I ran across so many characters and was in so many different countries, working with other country militaries and doing things that no one should have to do, but they gave me enough character profiles and enough plots for a lifetime of stories. And like you alluded to right off, I think I'm over 200 published books at this point in time with 500, 600 products. If you do box sets, if you do audiobooks and paperbacks and hardcover, so many different opportunities to consume the entertainment that I create.
I feel lazy. You've been doing this 10 years and you've got I've been doing it 5 and I've got a fraction of it.
You know what? It's all that time you spend working on your hair. If you took that time away and started writing instead of having that nice look,
the two bald guys are obsessing over my hair.
We are, and it's envy, man. I mean, you take it like it is.
All right, let's get back to asking you a question. So many authors struggle with consistency. It's definitely a big topic whenever authors gather, and you're known. Obviously, we just talked about it: productivity and focus. You're able to do it. How do you? Apart from the regiment that's been put into you from the Marine Corps, do you have systems in place that you use for your productivity?
After I retired from the Marine Corps, I got my law degree, but I worked in project management. And I worked with Fortune 100 companies to help their leadership implement their projects and better improve their projects. And that included the frontline workers, how to get them more engaged with the business. So I applied those principles to myself as I'm writing books because I order covers. I usually have a cover before I start writing the book because then it was easier. Getting the cover after I wrote the book, I am physically incapable of describing a scene that the artist can then take because I'm an idiot. I am a graphic moron. So by getting a general overview, the artist would come and then I can write that scene into the book. I can write the scene a hell of a lot easier than I can describe a scene for an artist to recreate. So when do I order the cover? Before I write the book. When do I get the editing? Well, I have the editor lined up and I let her know 3-6 months. I used to let her know a full year. Here's the books I'm going to produce next year. And I have my insider team who gives me beta feedback. They might give me feedback at 5,000, 10,000 words to make sure the story's on track. So all of that's in a project, and I am ridiculously results-oriented. So I'm not going to start a book and do away with it. Just say, hey, this book isn't going anywhere. Let me put it aside. No, hell no. I just spent how much time writing those many words. So it needs to work. So that's why I get feedback because I'll have that feeling right away that, hey, this book isn't really working. And I'll get feedback from my insider team. And here's what's wrong. Here's this. And then, I can fix that. And usually fixing it is pretty easy and then move forward until we have the complete book. And also, now that I have an established readership, and I've had that for quite a while now, this last winter, I asked my readership, I'm like, hey, my Ian Bragg thrillers just aren't doing as well as I want. And the latest, the 8th book in the series, I mean, I'm expecting like thousands of sales right out of the chute, and it was like 100. Like, what's going on? So I asked them, what do you guys want to see more from me? So, Mill Sci-Fi by a 4-to-1 margin. So my newest series is Mill Sci-Fi, 65,000 words, because they want to read it in one sitting. So if you have a readership, feed them because they'll feed you. So that book, the first book in that series just came out 2 weeks ago and sold over 1,000 copies. So, hey, there we are. We're back where we want to be. Got pre-orders I actually have the next 8 books in the series up for pre-order, and those are rocking as well because people read that first book. They liked it. They're buying into the series. I am on a solid ground, solid footing once more, rather than putting out the series and keep trying to push this series, which did just fine, but not anywhere near as well as I wanted once we got to book 8. And I think book 8 is a really good book. And people got there, this is the best book of the series. However, asking people to buy, hey, can you read 8 books to get the really good one? They don't do that. So now I gave them a really good one right out at a margin of 4-1. They said, we want this. So I gave it to them, and they rewarded me by buying that book and then buying the next book.
I think it's a tricky, right? Because there's a growth period with a new series, especially if you're branching out a little bit, even if it's within the same genre. But we always think, okay, all our readers are going to go straight into this. It's new, and it's not everyone does. You bring a certain percentage over, and there's a pain point, and that pain point used to be about 3 books in a series to get it really rolling, right? And now, with the how busy the indie world is and how saturated it is and how difficult it is with advertising these days, it's more like 5, 6, 7 books to get a series really up and rolling. There's a pretty big pain point to write 6 books before you get it to be as big as your main series, right?
That question, that leads to another question. So like you said, you kind of you took the Ian Bragg, which is a thriller, and your readers are saying, hey, we want more military sci-fi. So I guess the question is, with all the genres you are writing, do you have one that you actually really enjoy writing? And if it's not the same one, that you kind of shifted to kind of follow what the readers want, not so much what, fits your desire to write. Is that a fair assessment?
I actually like writing almost all of them. So mil sci-fi, I write easier. 20 years in the Marine Corps, I have an unlimited amount of mil sci-fi military stories that you just paint on a intergalactic backdrop and give them beam weapons instead of M16s or M4s nowadays. So that works just fine. And I enjoy writing it, and I enjoy writing military characters because I ran across so many characters during my 20 years. And I like thrillers. Thrillers require me to think more and work harder to develop the plot because of the intricacies. Whereas, I mean, you're throwing down with aliens. That's cool. You give them a different weapon. And when you're dealing with different personalities who could be a bad guy, they might be a good guy. And that requires a little more thought. So I like those too because they're more challenging for me as an author. Whereas just military sci-fi, I'm just narrating bullshit that happened. Sorry if this is a no swearing podcast. I'm just narrating bullshit that I saw firsthand. So I'm just throwing it out there and the banter between the characters. But the thriller world, I included a intelligence community element because my career in the Marine Corps, I was an intelligence enlisted, and then I was intelligence officer, and Russian language was my specialty. So I got to be in a lot of different places, to include 2 years at the embassy in Moscow. So the thrillers, I like those because I can weave some of those elements in, but it all has to work. And that's something that is just a little bit different than the mil sci-fi. So that's why I have 9 books on pre-order at one time when the first book published, and I had the first 5 books written. I'm working on book 6 now, and I'm at 15,000 words. I'm a quarter of the way in already, after writing on it for 3 or 4 days is all, because it's just flowing really well at this point. So these are easier to write, and the readers want more of them. So hell yeah, here you go. I am way good with that. And now one thing I have a hard time writing is fantasy because of the extended descriptions. I want to get to, action. Here's an action, reaction. Here's the scene transition. Here's the setup. And I reread Tolkien. I love Tolkien. I love Anne McCaffrey. And even though she wrote sci-fi, not fantasy, still it has the elements in there that I'm a little more terse in my wording. That's why I can write a full book, 65K words, and it is a full story. I don't need to go extra long.
Doug and I have collaborated on some work, and we've done some collaborations with other people. You've done a lot of collaboration with some big names as well. And you've written all these books, you've developed your style and your way of going about things. What makes a co-author situation work well for you, and how do you establish that relationship?
There are a couple different methodologies that I've used. One is working with the author, but it's mostly their work. We just published a book 2 days ago, the 5th book in the Glory series, which we only publish 1 book a year in that series, but it shows you don't have to publish a book a month like I'm doing with my mil sci-fi. That came out 3 weeks ago, but this one, a book a year, and it still does extremely, extremely well. The collaboration. So if the other author is doing the majority of the work, I'm checking in to add in certain elements like direct combat scenes, engagement, things like that maybe my co-author there isn't familiar with, or through video games, and let's take it out of the video game element and add the real world element to that. Other ones, it's 50-50. Gene Raby, who has written trilogies for Dragonlance, we did a collaboration. I wrote one chapter. She wrote the next chapter. She edited mine and then continued on. And I edited hers and continued on. We had a great time writing that. But it was a fantasy book, and it just didn't sell like we wanted to. So we didn't write another book, even though we got 3 covers, because we found a cover artist out of France who was trying to be the next Frank Frazetta. And he did some great covers. So for what I consider a total bargain, he did oil paintings. He did a real oil painting. He scanned it at a high res, and then he sent us the painting. So Gene has the paintings of these 3 covers, even though we only did one. And we had somebody else do the typography. So all he had to do was paint a dragon or a Conan-like character, the scantily clad dancer. So great. The world of today, you can reach out and find these people around the world, and it's incredible. My good friend here, Alex Bates, who I credit with saving my life when I had RSV, he's an artist. And so he has these people that he's found around the world. And I've got another one. I've got a dragon book coming out, which is going to be, I'm publishing, I'm not writing. We've got a local artist who loves drawing dragons, and she's got a great portfolio. So we're going to get with her, and this will be her first book cover.
What do you think in the last 10 years since you've been published has been the most that's changed? And what do you think is coming up that's going to be changed or needs to be changed as we can continue forward?
One of the biggest changes over the last 10 years was the ability to get readers onto your newsletter and build a list and build that engagement. I was able to build a list of about 17,000 people on my newsletter, but I'm at status quo and have been for the last 3 or 4 years, where I'm not able to increase to 20, 25,000. It's just right there. I mean, I've spent money. I give away a whole novel. Here's a novel for free if you just join my newsletter. And it's still not as enticing as it used to be. That level of engagement, because your newsletter, these are people who signed up specifically because of you. So that should be your best marketing opportunity. Deliverability rates, I'm on my 4th different newsletter service provider, because deliverability rates drop off over time for whatever ungodly reasons exist in the Ethernet for saying whether we're going to deliver this email or not. And I think that's one of the hardest things. So I use paid newsletters, paid promos. I put a book on sale and market the hell out of that, trying to get these people into the series, but those as well, because thanks to social media, that has gotten so toxic. My market, my target readership is bailing out of social media. So where do we find them? And I don't do in-person events. And even if I did, it's still, I may come across like a gregarious kind of guy. And I'm great with other authors. But when it comes to readers, I've got no game. So in-person events, I used to do one here that was in Fairbanks, Alaska. However, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in Australia for next year's show. So I'm not coming back. So I am doing no in-person events anymore. So if I don't find readers there, how else am I going to find readers? And this is where I've got to coordinate with other authors, which comes through collaborations. I do the Expanding Universe anthology, where I try to find the biggest name sci-fi authors to submit a short story. They get a cut. I do not take a cut from that anthology because I want their readers. So very selfishly, I want my stuff exposed to your readers. So that's why I have these big name authors in there. And also they get a cut. Here's a book, a short story that they write for their universe or something else. 3 months, we put it in the anthology. And after that, they get their full digital rights back. So if they want to put it in Kindle Unlimited or something else, give it away, they have no competition. And that has worked for a lot of people. And that is another way, another methodology to get readers on board. So going forward, what is going to be the thing is convincing readers that just because I have an EM dash means doesn't mean I'm using AI to write books. And I've put that in my blurbs that, this is human written. We're still fighting the good fight, because they used on the Anthropic settlement, they use 151 of my titles. So needless to say, if you run any of my books through an AI, is this AI or not? It's going to say, yeah, probably is, because they used my books to train it. And that is infuriating that some knob out there on the internet said, oh, see, this is it. It's not AI, not fucking AI. I wrote this book. Hey, how can you write 12 to 15 books a year? Well, hey, this is all I do. And the collaborating titles, like the title we just released 2 days ago, Ira spent a year working that book. I spent maybe a week or two reviewing throughout. And that's, scattered throughout the year. It's not like I committed, here's home. No, I commit that much time to writing new books.
I think it's interesting. I just got back from BoucherCon, which is a pretty heavy trad. And it's interesting. Like, these people are doing one book a year, and we would die on one book a year. Like, I can't imagine
you can't make
any money.
A living.
So they're mind boggled that we might do. Some people are doing 12 books a year, or like I've done 7 this year, which is nothing compared to you. And readers especially are kind of blown away that they don't understand how you can write that fast, how you can do that much, and even some of these trad writers who don't have any idea. We just had somebody who wrote 80,000 words, and she would throw it away and then turn around and rewrite the whole thing. And I'm like, how would you throw away 80,000 words?
Does it every time.
Every book she does. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to worry about being paid for it. So.
I can't imagine doing that. Writing fast. If you write anything at all, it's 1,000 to 1,500 words an hour. That's what I can get 1,000 words an hour. So 65,000 word book is 65 hours of writing. If I write 2 hours a day, that's a month. So how in the hell can you write one book in a year? And this is the hard part, is what are you doing with your time? Some of the trad authors are big on saying, here's what I'm doing, and I'm busy and I meet with readers. Great. But don't disparage me because I'm here in Fairbanks, Alaska. You know what I'm doing? I'm sitting in my house. And I'm here in Fairbanks, Alaska. In the winter, what the hell? Who wants to go out when it's minus 20 outside? So I just write. And this is what I do. I don't do in-person events. I don't do this other stuff. So it would be embarrassing not to have 12 books or 15 books in a year, especially with the collaborations and stuff like that. And then you do a box set here or there, and all of a sudden, you've got an awful lot of books out there. I published 30 books in 30 weeks, and that almost killed me because my readers did not step up and pick up each one of those books. It was a significant challenge. It fried my heart. I had to have heart surgery 6 months after I did those 30 books. Every week, the costs were quadrupled. Instead of one book a month, now I have 4 covers, I have 4 editing, and I did not get 4 times the sales. I got like 1/4 of the sales. So I almost lost my ass that year trying to publish a book a week because, hey, more is better, right? And no, better is better. And that's the only answer that your readers will respond to is write a good book and then put it in the right reader's hands. So writing that good book is first and foremost just giving them, hey, here's a new series with a co-writer. They wanted my books. So the last half of that year, that was 2019, I published 5 books in 6 months and made my year. That's the only reason I got into the black in that year, because of those 5 books and not those first 30. And then had surgery, heart surgery, right at the beginning of January 2020, and then COVID. So, okay, so now all travel's canceled for the whole year. The conference, 20 books, Vegas conference was canceled, and the hotel canceled on me, so it wasn't me. I published, I want to say like 19 books, and 2021 was my biggest year ever because I had all these books, people were reading. We just did everything right after the heart surgery, and we haven't been back under the knife, thank God. So we're still moving forward.
So what do you think is one of the biggest traps for an indie author at the moment? What do you think is the thing that people are getting sucked into that's not?
One of the big things is that mindset is so critical. It's thinking that if I write this book, nobody will see it, or believing that, oh, there's so much competition. Even Doug said it earlier that with all the competition, good books, great books will always get visibility. Now, it may not be quick. It may not be easy, but there's a certain critical mass when you wrote a great book and you put it in the right reader's hands that they'll start promoting for you, just telling their friends. And all of a sudden you'll get these sales. It's like, why am I getting sales on this book out of the blue? Because somebody read it and really liked it. And how do you find them? Well, you try to, it's front matter, back matter on your book, just to try to get them to sign up to your newsletter so you can communicate with them. Hey, what do you guys think of this new concept? What do you guys think of this last book? Can you leave a review if you read this book and liked it? All of that, those communications with your readers, so critical. writing a great book, if you wrote a great book, you can get it in the right reader's hands, especially if you wrote a great book and then 1 or 2 more books after it. Like you had said, Nick, 3 books, well, maybe 8 books now, but it's still, you don't get overwhelmed because that first book is going to take the longest amount of time. After that, it's easier to write a book because you've already done it. And that is standard project management process, in that the second time you do something is always a hell of a lot easier than the first time.
I think the building blocks are key, right? As you've talked about on several parts of this, is building the newsletter list, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's a building block, and if you build on those foundations, the fundamentals, everyone's looking for the golden ticket, right? The quick get rich and all these things. And I'm going to be on TikTok because I'm going to get struck by lightning on TikTok, and it's going to go huge. You know what? That stuff can happen. If TikTok is your thing and you're really good on camera, then knock it out. Go do it. Okay. And you may get hit by lightning, but the odds are that you won't. There's only a few people get that. So putting the fundamentals down and the building blocks is the basis of it all. And like you said, eventually, if it's a good book and you write another good book and another good book and you keep it growing, you're going to get somewhere.
You look at Hugh Howey, where he is now. Wool. Oh, he wrote Wool. I mean, overnight success. That was his 10th book. Wool was his 10th book, and people don't realize that. And then all of a sudden it blossomed, and George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones. It was 30 years from when he wrote that book till it actually, hey, look at this. It's taken off. It's going to hit the big screen. 30 years. Okay, he wrote a great book, and it took him that long before he got it in the right reader's hands, and the right people saw it and said, we can do something spectacular with this. What I advise people is you've got to write that book. Because people will get quagmired in thinking about the business marketing and, I'll look at these AI titles. Write the book. Write the great book first. And then you do this other stuff. Join groups like the Successful Indie Author Facebook group. We talk about that other stuff in a way that's non-threatening. Nobody is trying to take your readers. Nobody is trying to demean you. We're not doing that because we're better together. I say rising tide lifts all boats, because it does. Readers can read a hell of a lot more than we can write, so we win together. And by helping each other and sharing and by learning, your readers will take that too. Because if you're extremely competitive and you need to demean other authors to make yourself feel better, you're never going to survive in this business. I don't care who you are. I don't care how big you think you are, how great your book is. You're not going to win. So it's best to just by supporting your other authors, your fellow authors, and no matter where you are on your journey, halfway through writing your first book, somebody is right there with you. And how about you go shoulder to shoulder, because you're alone writing your book, but you don't have to be alone. That is the great thing about social media. So don't get turned off on all the toxicity. Eliminate all your other groups and just stay with Successful Indie Author, because it's all positive. I mean, we do a lot of giveaways, all kinds of stuff.
You do have a lot of good stuff in there. It's interesting. Like I said this while we were at BoucherCon, I actually was leading, or I was on the panel that they had one panel for indie authors, and it was interesting. Like we had a group of indie authors there, and it was crazy how they would follow us around and do. If we had a talk, we'd go, and these trads didn't quite grasp the community that we have, I think. And it, to me, like it's family. And I'm curious, like when you first started into this indie, and you kind of got on board with the 20 books and now the Successful Indie Author, like, did you have any idea how big this was going to blow up into, this kind of community that was going to become?
I was just trying to be a nice guy, be a brand that I could be proud of. And all of a sudden, like you said, who in the indie world doesn't know who I am, which is humbling to say the least. I mean, it's great talking to you. I mean, make fun of Nick's hair. I
will make fun of Nick every day of the week. So, but he throws it right back at me, so it's okay.
Because that hair is awesome. But just helping people do better, because the opportunity, especially with COVID, that was a turning point for many indie authors, because now you can't go to work. You lost your job. What can you do to provide money for your family? And we're trying to show people that, hey, being an author is a viable business. And look at all the TikTokers that jumped in around that time and are like, hey, you know what? I'm selling books. I don't need to go back to the day job. I can work from home and make not just decent money, but good money. And now let's move forward. What's it going to take? And you get these people having those kinds of conversations and doing the work. Most importantly, is doing the work that we as indies, since I've been in this for a little more than 10 years now, I mean, one person out of 10 at the most is still here 10 years later writing books. I mean, a number have died, unfortunately. I finished 3 different series for people who died. And yes, that's good, but still, don't die.
I'd rather not do the work. It's a whole lot easier.
Yeah, because some it's like hard work. I mean, how many years of not selling books can you go? Or some people are fixated on traditional publishing and saying, hey, I need to get that trad contract. Otherwise, I'm just not a good author. No, it just means you didn't write a book that trad knows that they can sell to their readership. That's all. It doesn't mean you're a bad author at all.
Okay. We have a couple of questions we ask everybody towards the end of the show, Craig. And the first one is, what do you think is your author superpower?
My author superpower, ADHD. I think it gives me the ability to do things and get things done and focus on things that need to be focused on until I'm finished, and then move on to the next thing, and also to juggle, 10 different plates spinning in the air at the same time.
That's great. That's great. So last question we have for you, and we have a wheel that we're going to spin. Here it is.
Awfully fun. So, and
we can see the wheel. You listening at home cannot.
Nope, but you can't hear it. So here you go.
You hear how wonky it's getting.
Wobble.
Oh my God.
Wobble on it.
He turned it away, so I can't see which one comes up.
Oh, it came up with, what is your favorite fast food guilty pleasure?
Oh.
Favorite fast food guilty pleasure. So I don't want to admit this, but yes, I have to because we're here on the podcast. I do like Arby's. However, it is the McDonald's Big Mac.
Tried and true.
Oh, it's not good for you. There's no food in that food.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I just love it.
Craig, thank you so much for joining us. This has been brilliant. We'll have to get you on again because we only asked about half the questions we had to ask you, and there's always more to ask and get your insights on what's going on. So thank you so much.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. It's great to have you on. Man, he's got a lot of knowledge.
He's been around the block a time or two in this business and been very integral, right? So, I mean, he's been a big part of it.
He talked a little bit about the community, and I think a lot of that community built on some of the stuff he's done.
It's made the world of difference for me coming into the business, not knowing a darn thing. And like the tropical authors community that's been, Wayne and Sully, who have been so welcoming and helpful. And it's, people can read a lot more books than you write by, a lot of our readers are reading a book a day or a book in 2 days more than are reading a book in 2 weeks or 3 weeks like I do. So, we're looking at 4 to 7 books I think you're going to have out this year with all the combinations. So there's all those other days that they can fill in with reading stuff. So it's not competition, right? We're not fighting each other for the space.
It's not competition. I think that's the beauty of it. And I think that's something that it's not just the tropical authors are great. It's all authors. It doesn't matter. It's weird. Like, we talked to our good friend Franklin Horton, who does Post of Pock, and we talked to, Drew Strickland. I mean, we have all these people who do other genres or even close to genres. And it doesn't matter because, like you said, our readers, as soon as I write a book and publish a book, by noon that day, I have an email from somebody who's like, when's the next book come out? So there's people always going to be looking for your stuff. So there is no such thing as competition, really. And there is going to be a little more struggle getting your book in front of people. And I like what he said. He's using other people. He's writing short stories in other places. He's putting his name out there or bringing in other people's names. There's so many different ways to get yourself out there and use that community to its fullest.
It's brilliant, and when you're starting off, you've written this great book and you want to get it out there. Find the community, start talking to the people. There's going to be somebody amongst that group who'll read that book and they'll give you some feedback on it. And if they love it, they may pimp it for you and put it in their newsletter. And that's how it grows. So don't be shy.
When I first wrote the Chase Gordon series, and I had a whole other series that wasn't tropical thrillers, but I actually reached out to our good friend Dave Behrens, who now does both of our covers. If you're needing cover art, Dave Behrens is the way to go. Just look him up. He's fabulous. He was in that. He was writing those tropical thrillers, and I was like, hey, I want to kind of get into this group right there. And it's amazing how easy and how welcoming everybody is. And it doesn't matter. since then I've started writing, other mysteries and action things. And it doesn't really matter because as soon as we meet these authors, I have yet to meet but maybe one or two authors who I thought and they were just not nice. Most of them are nice. Those were romance authors. We won't tell who, but
come on now.
But no, really, it doesn't matter. Like we have some of my closest friends now, and probably the friends I'll have for the rest of my life. It's people that came from this community, and it doesn't matter if you have a problem. It's crazy. Like I can reach out to anybody and say, "Hey, how are you doing this?" Or maybe you're doing something differently than I am. Where are you finding success? And I guarantee you probably get a couple a week. I get a couple a week, and I ask the same question to people a couple times a week. Hey, I'm thinking about doing something a little differently, and you can kind of feed off of other people's knowledge.
Tap into the hive mind.
Tap into the hive mind, and it's so helpful and amazing. Couldn't be part of being the best job ever. So.
Yeah. This job does not suck. That's for sure. It's hard work. There's no question about it. You got to build, and you got to work hard. But it's great. Cool. All right. Well, big thanks to our friends at Vellum for their support. You can go to tryvellum.com/2authors to find out more. There's links to everything, Craig stuff, Vellum, all that good stuff in the show notes. Consider chipping in on our Patreon if you would. If you'd throw us about the price of a coffee a month, you get all this bonus content. There's tons of it in there now. It's really pretty cool. And you can jump in there and sponsor the listener question and come on with us and ask the question like we were talking about earlier. So until next time, be cool to each other.
Fair winds and following.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Podcast with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt. Subscribe on your favorite platform for new shows coming every week.